Welcome to a brand new episode of the Ocean Chicks Horror Podcast. I'm your host, Karen, and today in the broadcast studio I have my friend, Jake Roth, who is an indie filmmaker, actor, and also does a movie review YouTube channel called Reviews with Jake. So sit back and enjoy the show, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Welcome to the Ocean Chicks Horror Podcast. Today in the broadcast studio we have my friend, Jake Roth, from the YouTube channel Reviews with Jake. And Jake's also a filmmaker and an actor too. Hey Jake, how's it going?
Doing all right. How are you?
Good. It's the first time we've gotten to talk live.
Yeah, it's been fun to just kind of sit here and chat it up, BS, and let's talk some movies. All about it.
Yeah, for sure. First, I want to say how we met. So I don't even know if you know this, but a few years ago, I had a vegan channel. And I changed it over to a movie review channel. And you were the first person that followed me on Instagram.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Part of the OG crew. Love it.
And it was kind of cool because I was like, oh, yay. And I felt inspired to kind of keep going with it because I didn't know if anyone would even care I was on there.
I have that struggle all the time, too. I'm like, is anyone even listening?
Yeah, exactly. And you do movie reviews just like I do, but you do all sorts of movies, not just horror. How did all of that start? How did you get started with that?
Well, honestly, it's kind of one of those things that, like, in my circle and even outside, like, people just kind of knew me where I'm from as just kind of the movie guy. And quite frequently, people would just come up to me all the time and just be like, have you seen this movie? Or have you seen this movie? What did you think about this? And I just felt like people were just perpetually coming up to me and asking me my thoughts on movies. And it kind of got annoying, if I'm being honest. And it was just kind of one of those things like, all right, let's just have a catch-all. Let's just film it, and then everyone knows what movies I've seen. And we could just go from there. They know exactly what my thoughts were, and I can dive into it from there. So it was kind of one of those things that it just kind of fell in my lap because people just kept coming up to me about it. And I'm like, all right, well, let's just make it a thing.
Yeah. Is movies something you've always liked, like from when you were a kid?
Oh, yeah. Like, just kind of always been a thing that I've always followed. It's always been an aspiration of mine. I always wanted to be a filmmaker since I was a little kid. My parents got me my first video camera for Christmas when I was like 10 years old. And
Cool.
I don't think they really knew what they were getting into when they did that. I think it was just kind of like, yeah, all right, here you go. And ever since then, just been obsessed with it, being in front of the camera, behind it, and everything, just every aspect of it. And yeah, it's definitely my jam.
Right. So that brings me to the filmmaking part. So how did you get into that? Did you go to school for that, or you just started?
Yeah, I went to Loras College here in my hometown, Dubuque, Iowa, in their media studies program. Not necessarily a film program per se, but just media. So it's like a catch-all. They got some journalism in there and everything.
Right.
But yeah, I went there specifically in my mind as a film thing, just to kind of learn the fundamentals of filmmaking. But even before I even went to Loras, I was still just playing around with the camera, just in my free time with my friends. We'd get together and make home movies back when I was 12, 13 years old. Like, I remember like one of like my birthday parties, I invited a bunch of friends over and I just kind of made them be in my zombie movie. And that was my birthday party. It was just like, some people would hit a piñata or something or whatever kids would do. I'm like, nah, get over here and here's a mask. Put this mask on and let me. Yeah. Well, and then I would have them hit me with a car. I didn't hit them with a car, but we got a little hands on, and it was a lot of fun.
So you do the acting too, right? We'll talk about your some of your films that you've done after, but yeah, you do some of the acting as well as the filming too. What do you like better?
Yeah, it's interesting because, like, honestly, my parents got me the video camera to begin with because they knew that I wanted to be an actor. Acting was the first thing that got me into it. They're like, well, if the kid wants to be an actor, we'll get him a camera. And then I'm like, well, I can't really act in a thing if I don't know how to use the camera. So I just kind of fell in love with both sides of it. I don't know. I guess it's kind of like, two very different things. I don't know which one I would put above the other. I certainly have learned my lesson that I can't do both at the same time. In many occasions with my films, I'll try and direct as well as acting, and that's very, very difficult, but it's fun to just do one or the other. But they're different things. I love storytelling. That's the big thing that I love in the filmmaking side of it, being behind the camera, but
Right.
getting in front of it, you just kind of get to, put on the skin of another person, just really soak it all in, and just it's a fun little challenge to just kind of see what you can kind of do with it, and just kind of not be yourself for a little bit.
Right. So tell us about some of the stuff that you've done.
Yeah, so I've been making them for quite a while now. Throughout college, I made a handful of them. Made a couple horror movies. I made one horror movie in college. Then I made a kind of a dark comedy. And then since then, I've been mostly navigating towards short films.
Right.
Make a lot of shorts of different genres. They all always seem to navigate around the horror genre, but some of them aren't necessarily horror. They're more so like kind of horror themes. Like,
Right.
I kind of made a zombie movie, but like there was only like 2 zombies, and it was more so kind of getting into the head of someone like while they're going through a zombie apocalypse. Is kind of more of like a dark drama, but it had zombies in it.
Right.
But yeah, so like I mostly navigate around the short filmmaking. I made the most ambitious thing I've made since graduating college was a 30-minute horror film called The Fourth Wall, and
Right.
yeah, that was a big hefty project, and I don't want to say it necessarily deterred me away from doing the long form stuff, but I always do it on my free time because I'm a full-time videographer for a production company here in town, so that
Oh, I
always
didn't know
pays.
that.
Yeah, so that pays the bills, and I have that work Monday through Friday, and then
Right.
it's always the stuff I do on the weekend, which is kind of like the passion projects. And
Right.
if you get too ambitious on the weekends, it kind of ends up being a little bit more of a hefty workload than it normally intended. But yeah, it's fun to just kind of tell stories. That's why I got into it, and just kind of my free time, just kind of throw some stuff together and see what we come up with.
Do you work with your friends mostly?
Yeah, most of the time. Every now and then I'll bring in someone that I haven't met before that just kind of knows me as like a movie guy, and they'll just come in and, act here and there. But a lot of the time it'll be a lot of like people in my own circle. I live in
Right.
Iowa, so naturally, the roster isn't too deep and everything, and sometimes you just kind of have to work with what you got.
But
But a
I
lot
bet
of
there's some good scenery and stuff that you can
Oh God,
work with
yeah,
out there.
yeah. That's definitely a thing. Just kind of, there's so many different areas to just get sunrise and sunsets and everything. I mean, it doesn't really help too much with a horror film because, most of the time it's, we're just trying to find a dark room to, throw some blood on the wall or something.
True.
But yeah, it's always fun to just kind of get the crew together. And a lot of the times, we'll, stay up all night making a horror movie, and I'll bring over some frozen pizzas, pop them in, and maybe have a couple beers while we're at it. It's just a lot of fun.
Yeah. Oh, I bet. I think that would be so much fun. Do you have a lot of like fancier equipment to do your filming with? Like if other people were wanting to make films, is that a thing? Like you kind of need to take a class and learn all about that?
Yeah, I mean, it certainly helps. I mean, we have lights and everything. I have a ton of lights, microphones, and everything. Camera-wise, we just kind of rock with a Sony A7S III, which is, kind of like a mirrorless, DSLR-looking camera. So nothing, film grade, would you say? But, yeah, I mean, it makes a pretty good picture, and you can kind of make do. But no, I wouldn't say it's anything. Nothing I make is very high budget at all. No, I wouldn't say so.
Can I have a link for people to be able to check some of your stuff out?
Yeah, sure. I could send you over a link for sure.
Okay, and I'll have it in the description below. Everybody can check it out too.
Awesome. Yeah.
I've seen a few of your things before, but you don't have links on your social media as much, do you now?
In the link in my let's see, in the link in my bio of the Instagram for Reviews with Jake, I have a link to the Reviews with Jake YouTube, and then on my personal Instagram, I have a link to my Resistant Productions, which is my side gigs, YouTube channel from there. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Because that's fun. I think a lot of people are going to want to check that out for sure.
Yeah, it's just kind of one of those things that, like, my whole philosophy is like, it's all my filmmaking is always just for the passion of it. Like, I always fund everything out of my own pocket. And like I've had opportunities to like make money. We've had premieres and stuff around town that have been pretty well attended, but normally I just take that money and just give it to we built a new skate park in town, and I would take that money and donate it to the skate park because
Oh, nice.
I don't know, the filmmaking aspect for me is just all about the love of it. Like I just it is just something I just need to do because otherwise I will just literally go insane. So
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just kind of one of those things that I never want to tote the line that this is just something I do for fun and I just love doing it. And I don't think it needs to be more complicated than that.
Do you submit to film festivals and things?
Yes, I have. We've sent, like the Fourth Wall, we went to a couple different places. We sent that. We had a film festival in Chicago, in Cheyenne, Wyoming. It got picked up in apparently in some film festival in Brazil.
Right.
Wow. I didn't make the trek down there to see how that went, but that was fun. Cool. And normally it's kind of one of those things where you just kind of make a thing and huck it out there in the world and see if anyone takes it. And the last film I made in 2019, which is kind of a dark drama romance, kind of a darker take on Romeo and Juliet. That one ended up getting picked up in a place in Vancouver, actually.
Oh,
and I was really excited. I chose that specifically because I've always wanted to go to Vancouver, and it got accepted at the festival, but it just so happened that the festival got COVIDed, and I didn't actually get to go to Vancouver as a result of that because we sent that film out for circulation right as COVID was happening. So that one kind of got hosed. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Now that things are opening up again, that you'll do some more of that?
Oh, yeah. I'm in the pre-production. Well, actually, I guess I just started rolling a little bit this past weekend, but just a couple frames of my new short that I'm working on right now. We're going to do the big principal shooting day later in June, but that's one I definitely intend to send out to film festivals again because the excitement around just waiting on notification day to see if it gets accepted is just it's intoxicating. I can't wait to do that again.
Oh, cool. I'm so jealous. I'd love to do that kind of stuff.
It's so much fun. So much fun.
Yeah, I bet. Okay, well, you'll have to let me know about that one when it comes out so, we can promote it and stuff too.
Oh yeah, it's coming. I actually not too far over there. I'm actually building the set in my basement because it was originally supposed to be made for a COVID film, so I was keeping things pretty small scaled. But admittedly, I got a little lazy and it did not film it really during COVID. Now COVID's knock on wood on the way out, but I still have to make the movie. So I have a little set that I'm working on building over there, and making use of every square inch of what I got to work with.
That's cool. Did you have to study a little bit up on movie makeup and special effects and stuff like that?
Honestly, makeup is definitely a thing that I don't really know too much on. Most of the time for me, I just have literally just bottles of fake blood that I bought at the Halloween store, and I just have way too much of it. And normally that was my gore, was just kind of throw blood on it. But for this particular film, we're actually bringing in someone that has a little bit more experience on it, and
cool.
We'll be able to have them gore it up a little bit better than what my bottles of red fluid can do. So
that's exciting. Yeah, I love that side of it. I really, if I could go back in time, I would totally have studied that and gotten right into it because I think that's so cool. Talked to so many indie filmmakers that just the creativity in it is just amazing. The stuff that people come up with.
Yeah, honestly, the biggest thing of gore that I've actually made was that zombie film I was talking about. I made a leg, and I basically made a severed leg out of one of my dog's bones. And I just kind of put a pant leg over it, and I put some little pieces of clay just to make it look like there was cartilage coming off or anything. And I was really proud of that dog bone that I dressed up. But other than that, I just throw blood on stuff and call it a day.
You're good. We're good to go. Here's the blood.
That's all you need to do.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about your YouTube channel as well, because you do tons of movie reviews. Mostly you do current stuff that's just in theaters, that kind of thing, right?
Yeah, mostly, yeah.
So what kind of movies do you like? What are your favorites?
Horror is definitely my go-to. I love horror. I always swim in that. If there's enticing new horror movie, that usually is always going to be my go-to.
Right.
but yeah, like how I kind of selected, honestly, IMDb is my jam. And like I just look at the coming soon and I pick a movie for every single week. And I'm like, and sometimes it's in theaters, sometimes it's a Netflix movie. This past week, I'm not the biggest fan of Tom Cruise. And I'm like, I will do anything I can to avoid that. I appreciate what he is doing. Like the guy's nuts, and I'm like seeing this old man huck himself off of a plane. That's impressive, but I don't really like him as an actor. So I didn't really want to review Top Gun. So I'm like, what can I do outside of that? And I found out about The Sadness on Shudder, and I'm like, that is a bloody fucking movie.
That is insane.
Yeah, and I think it was a little too dependent on the shock factor. I don't think it really had a lot of substance to it, but my God, they went for it and they did it.
For Shudder, the stuff that we're allowed to see now is like, wow.
Yeah. It was. I don't even have a Shudder account. I just made a trial for it because my buddy, my coworker, was telling me about it. He's like, yeah, I suppose it's like the bloodiest movie that you've like, and like there was so much hype around it. I'm like, well, it's better than Tom Cruise, so I'll do a free trial. And I'll scope out this movie, and it definitely did not disappoint on the blood. It had it, and then some.
Yeah, crazy. And I expect it. I haven't really looked into it yet, but there's probably a mix of CGI with practical effects. But it kind of, I hate CGI for the most part. It's just not. I'm not a fan. If it's done well, I can appreciate it, but a lot of times it is not done very well. But in this one, it just. Wow, really, really well done. Really,
I thought it was very like all the makeup and the prosthetics in it were very impressive, and I agree completely. Like like just the overabundance of CGI and a lot of stuff, like it's just doesn't have the same effect. Like when you think about like the Thing remake I heard that they actually filmed the whole damn thing with practical effects, and then all of a sudden in post they were like, actually we're just gonna CGI it all, and I'm like, why? You made all these prosthetics and everything, and the CGI just doesn't look good.
Yeah.
So it's just nothing is better than just having something physically there, because like it's just the way to go for sure.
I get it. Like it's probably much more cost effective to go with CGI than it is with all the practical effects and that thing, but it's so much. The movie's so much better, You're talking about The Thing. They're re-releasing that one in theaters too.
I actually heard that. Yeah. I think it's Father's Day weekend, I think I heard.
Is it?
I think so. I think it's like Father's Day weekend, if I'm not mistaken. Not that my dad would have any interest in going to that, but
no. So, like, how do you love going to the theater? You stream. Do you collect physical media too, or are you kind of more into streaming? And
I used to have a lot more. Like, there's one shelf right there. I can't point. It's at an awkward spot. I have a whole other shelf, but I actually am using that shelf currently over in the set that I have going over there. So I put some other props on that one. But I collect physical media a little bit, but admittedly it has slowed down in the digital age. I don't buy as much of the DVDs and Blu-rays as I want to, but every now and then I'll dabble and grab a little bit here and there just because, you need something when the internet goes down and you can't call upon your big selection online. So it's always good to have a good arsenal at your disposal when you need it.
Right. What was it like with the theater shut down for you?
It sucked because like that is kind of like that's like my place. Like I once upon a time I was like, oh, I don't want to go to the theater by myself. I look like a loser, like Steven Glansberg. And I'm like, nah, like eventually I just kind of reached the point like I love going to the theater now. Like it's just like every week I go once a week, and it did kind of throw off my routine, especially because 2020 was the first year that I started doing like the video reviews. So like I started getting really serious about it, and then all of a sudden like everything shut down, and I was like, oh, well, that's inconvenient. So I originally wasn't going to do Netflix stuff when I originally started the channel, or Netflix or Hulu, because I think that's a slippery slope. But I was like, I have nothing else to watch a review at this point. So yeah, it was nice to finally get back into the theater though when we were able to, and it's definitely nice to get back in there, and it's fun.
What are some recent theater movies that you've seen that you really liked?
The last one I went to was Men, which was the new Alex Garland movie, and that was bonkers. I don't know if you've seen that one yet, but
I haven't seen it yet. I've heard about it.
I'm not gonna say anything, but the end is just like my jaw could not get off the floor. Like I was just like, what in the hell am I watching right now? Like it was crazy, but like Alex Garland's got an imagination on him. So and I really love that movie too because it's very metaphorical, and that is always my jam. I love going to movies, and then like if me and my girlfriend go to a movie, I love getting out of it and just be like, all right, well let's talk about it, and like we'll like randomly just talk for like an hour about a movie. I'm like, well, what did this represent? Like that didn't make sense if you're looking at it literally, but metaphorically that represented this, and it's almost like you're looking at the legend of a map, and I love trying to decode movies, and Men was definitely one of those movies, so that was a really fun one.
I'll look forward to that. That one's just out in theaters, right?
Yeah, that just came out like 2 weeks ago, and horror fans should definitely look into it just because it's just it is just bonkers. Like it's not like necessarily like it has horror elements in it definitely, but like there's some shit that you see and that you're like, well, I don't think I'm ever going to see that in another movie ever. And
that's good.
Oh, it's fun. It's fun.
Oh, cool. I'll look for it. So what'd you think of Firestarter?
Man, like that was another one where I just didn't want to go to it, but there was nothing else that came out that week. So it's just kind of like, all right, well, I guess we'll do this. And I saw the trailer and I'm like, wow, that looks bad. And I'm like, okay, well, I probably won't see that. But then I looked at IMDb. I'm like, well, there's literally nothing else that came out. And I'm not familiar with the source material. I haven't read that book from Stephen King, or I guess there's another movie of it. I don't know.
I saw the original back in the day, and I am really surprised they even bothered to do it again. I don't know why, because it really didn't. Drew Barrymore was really known for E.T., and I think at the height of her thing, they threw her into that because they figured, oh, well, it'll be a big draw because it's her. Yeah. And it was kind of meh, I don't know, back then. So for them to remake it was weird to me.
Yeah, but it was just, I don't know. Like, it was like, and even like you have Zac Efron in it, who's just like, he was a good actor. I do like Zac Efron, but like it felt like the director was almost just like just rolled on one take, and like he's just said the lines, and he was like, "Fuck it, good enough." Like, just it just didn't feel like he was really even trying. And like there was a lot of like, I think I've seen the mom actress in something else too, and I was like, I feel like the talent on screen is better than this, but like, why does this just not feel like a good movie? Yeah, and the effects too, like like going back to the effects thing, like obviously like. You can't really do too much practically, I guess, with pyrotechnics around kids. I'm sure you don't want to burn a kid, but like it just felt like honestly, like they grabbed like at certain points, it felt like they just grabbed like a chroma key overlay of like fire that you can get off of like almost like Shutterstock or something, and they just like laid it over the frame, and I was like, I can do that. I'm like, I expect a little bit more from a Hollywood film, like. It just, I literally could not get out of that movie theater quick enough. Like when the last frame hit, like it was just like it was an actual shot, and then they overlaid the credits over. Like right when I saw like the first line, I'm just like, all right, like I just walked out of there. I'm like, I am so done with this, and like, I don't like shitting on movies at all. Like just because I realize how hard it is to make a movie, even a really bad movie. Yeah. But it's just like sometimes it's just like, what were we doing here, guys?
What did they do? But I heard the John Carpenter score was really good, though.
That was the one. But even that, like, it didn't feel like it belonged in this movie. Like the soundtrack was too good for how bad this movie was. I'm like, I like this song. I wish I like could pull it up on Spotify and just listen to it without these visuals. Right. But yeah, it was just like strange. It was a bizarre little movie. I mean, I did not have the bar set very high, but the fact that it still like managed to go underneath it, I'm like, all right, well, that's a movie, I guess.
I heard that across the board pretty well from everybody. And it's even from people that wanted it to be good and gave it a really big chance were like, no, it didn't.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely someone that like, I've kind of once upon a time, like with this, I would go to movies and like, maybe I just don't go to movies unless, well, I guess Firestarter is the exception because I just needed to watch something that week. But every movie I
Right.
choose, like, I want to go in, like, I don't choose movies anymore outside of if the well is really that dry, but I always choose movies that I want to enjoy. Like, I have
Right.
expectations to enjoy them. So
Yeah.
I don't know, like, it is disappointing. Like, it really just like kind of kills me inside when I give out an F. I've only given out, I think, 3 of them in all of reviews of Jake. And
Right.
like, I don't like doing it at all, but it's like sometimes it's just like, you can't really give. There's no redeeming qualities here, and
Yeah.
it's a bummer.
Totally. What decade from your past is like where a lot of your favorite movies came from, or do you like more modern stuff?
I mean, I definitely have, the stuff that I pull. Like, I like a lot of modern stuff. Like, I get a lot of people that say you should
Yeah.
review this from like a later thing, but I feel like that's like, I find it hard to even just like stay on top of current releases, and I just don't know where I'd find the time to do like previous
Right.
releases. But I don't know if there's necessarily like a specific decade where I would pull from. Like, I love 90s stuff, like the stuff when I was a
Okay.
kid. Like, just because like a lot of those movies have like, not necessarily in horror sense, but like watching like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movies when like they
Right.
actually had like the big like Jim Henson like
Yeah.
big suits and everything. Like, the sense of humor of some of those movies, like the sound effects, they're so zany. And
Yeah.
like, you just don't get movies like that anymore. I think like the 90s just had such a good sense of humor. And
Right.
like, it's just, you just don't see stuff. And in fact, comedy in general, like, you don't really see comedies anymore. Like, comedies are almost becoming like a dying genre anymore, just because it's like, it's either Marvel or horror. Like, it's just, you don't get like the straight up
Right.
comedy really so much anymore. So
Because you can't joke about anything anymore.
that's true.
Everybody
There's
gets
always,
offended.
yeah, there's definitely a little
Right?
bit of that. And it's just, I don't know. It is interesting. Like, I just feel like I don't really review comedies anymore just because they just aren't really getting released.
Right. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think I navigate a little bit toward the 90s just because, as much as I do love the blood and the guts, like, I do love to laugh my ass off. And
Yeah.
that was an era where, like, Hollywood, we were all in a consensus. Like, we're all here to laugh. And then, whatever else may happen happens. But,
Yeah.
I don't really see too much of that anymore.
Yeah, it's true. We just did a big live stream this past weekend about 80s horror films, and it was just shocking how many movies there were made back then, But yeah, now that you're talking about 90s comedy and that, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I really enjoyed that too. It's weird. We just gone through such a horrible time in the world, and there's no comedies. You think now would be the perfect time to put that kind of stuff out there to cheer people up and get people motivated.
It would be nice to laugh a little bit outside
Yeah.
of, Chris Hemsworth making a witty Thor joke in the new Thor movie or something.
Yeah.
But, it would be nice to get some comedies. But, yeah, I think you might be onto something that, like, people are almost, like, afraid to do comedy anymore. It's like, I don't know. But, like, horror, like, we'll have movies like The Sadness where you're seeing the most obscure shit you've ever seen. But we're okay with that. But God forbid someone make a joke. It's like, all right, comedy. That's one area I don't want to swim in.
Yeah, totally true. So you're working on this new project, this new film that's coming out soon.
Mm-hmm.
That, and do you want to talk about that a little bit and anything else that you've got coming up?
Yeah, so the
like
new
with your
film,
channel.
Yeah, so for the film I'm working on right now, it's I've been in pre-production for a while now.
Okay.
Without diving too deep into it, it's a movie about voodoo, and I
Okay.
got like some witchcraft into it and everything. So I've been heavy in pre-production of making this set of like a witchy area. I bought a shit ton of dolls.
Okay.
And I don't know what I'm going to do with them after I'm done with the movie. I don't know. I have a mannequin too that I don't know what I'm going to do with, but
Right.
working on making this nice big set, and that'll be fun to film that next month. And then actually an exciting new challenge of I plan to score the film too, which I've never done before.
Oh,
I have a
do you
keyboard.
do music as well? You do music as well too.
I dabble.
You do it all.
I'm a jack of all trades, but a master of none. I would say. But yeah, I used to be a lot more into music. I used to play piano. My grandma taught me how to play piano when I was a kid. I've played drums. I've played bass guitar. the thing I probably did the longest was I was in a metal band for many years as the
Oh,
vocalist. I would
right.
say I wouldn't say I was a singer. I more so made noises and screamed and ran out in the crowd and pushed into people.
Yeah.
But yeah, like music's always been an affinity of mine, but like I wouldn't say I'm very like musically talented, but I do really love it.
Right.
And yeah, I have no idea how it's going to go to score a film. I have never done that before myself. So,
Right.
but I'm like, all right, let's try it because why not? I mean, then
Yeah.
the why not mentality is kind of how I always approach every single film I do. I'm like, well, that's kind of
Yeah.
dark, but let's do it because why not? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of it, and like the reason why, like, you know, like obviously outside of my job and everything, like where they're, you know, I'm confined by like what the client wants. Like people are paying me to make
Right.
a particular video and everything. So I'm kind of playing by their rules. But in terms of the filmmaking that I do on the side, I'm like, no one can tell me what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to try and do it because I want
Yeah.
to. And
Right.
that's kind of the approach I've always taken. Like this is like the one aspect where I have the freedom to do whatever the hell I want. And so
Right.
if I want to make a probably really bad soundtrack, we're going to make a really bad soundtrack because it's
I
going to
think
be fun.
I think that's awesome. I'm excited about that. You know, a lot of people that are into indie filmmaking and watching indie films love when one person does different parts of the film. You know, I think that's really cool using whatever you have to do it. It's inspiring too for new and upcoming filmmakers that, you know, you can try stuff out.
Yeah, I mean, it really doesn't take much. Like the last film I made back in 2019, the Romeo and Juliet one, like that was literally just me and my girlfriend, and we were the actors. We literally just set the camera up on a tripod and we
Right.
filmed it ourselves. And
Yeah.
she did some of the makeup and stuff. And you know, it doesn't really take much to make a movie. It just takes a little bit of ambition and planning, and especially with the way phones are, like the new iPhone shoots some crazy good,
Yeah.
impressive video. And
Right.
it's like it doesn't really take much. Like, you know, all it takes is a
Yeah.
little bit of planning, ambition, and anyone can do it. And it's a lot of fun. So I would encourage anyone to just kind of pick up a camera and just let it rip.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, if some of these bigger productions that are coming out now from the big companies are, you know, there's so much controversy, so much money, and then they end up turning out really crappy films for us to
Hmm.
watch. I think it's cool. Yeah, we should all just pick up and start being more creative again. I
Yeah, I
think
mean,
that's
you know, we live in a world where everyone wants to be a content creator and everything. So it's like, you know, why not we take that same ambition to, you know, do this and that and
yeah,
make a movie out of it, tell a story. Like
yeah,
there's infinite stories out there to tell. Like I'm all for
yeah,
anyone just picking up a camera and just letting her rip and just, you know, why not? You're playing with house money at that point, so why
yeah.
not?
Yeah. And you're just going to carry on with your channel with your movie reviews, the same kind of thing, and you upload
Yeah,
like once a week,
yeah, that's
twice a
the
week.
consistency I shoot toward. I just started doing, I used to do like longer formats on the YouTube where I did
Right,
like 10, 15 minutes, but eventually I just kind of reached a point, like honestly, like a lot of that consistency of doing that once a week outside of my job is a lot of the reason why this short film that it was meant to be filmed last year didn't get filmed because I was honestly
right,
too focused on the reviewing side. And so I've
yeah,
since stopped doing the long form stuff. I might dabble in it a little bit here and there because I
right.
do. It's very therapeutic to just sit in front of the camera and just talk about a movie and just geek out for a little bit. But yeah, the channel's still up and running. My reviews are significantly shorter, but it's always
Okay,
once a week. And normally I'm scoping and talking about a movie that just came out this week. And, you know, it's
right.
we're going to keep humming because it's, you know, I love it. Love movies.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, you have a great channel. I love watching your videos.
I
I'm
appreciate
going to
it.
have links in the description box so everybody can check you out and go sub to his channel too.
I appreciate
Give him
it.
some love, comment, like the videos. Yeah. Well, Jake, this has been super fun. I finally got to talk to you on here and meet you face to face.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish you all continued success and let us know when that project is, when the movie's done. We can check it
I'm
out.
sure I'm sure once I get a point to start posting about it, people will be asking me to shut up. So I'm sure you'll hear all about it when I'm
No.
ready.
Oh, you're funny. Okay, well, have a great rest of your evening, and
Thank you.
thanks for chatting with us.
Absolutely. This is a lot of fun.
Oh,
Love to do it again sometime.
yeah, you're welcome back anytime, Jake. You know that.
Appreciate it. This is a hoot.
Okay. Bye!
Take care.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I sure did. I really love getting to chat with indie filmmakers and fellow YouTubers too. It's a lot of fun. And don't forget to go check out and subscribe to Jake's YouTube channel, Reviews with Jake. I'll have it linked in the description box below. And if you enjoy podcasts, you can listen to the uncut audio version of this episode on Spotify or Apple or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And if you like this video, don't forget to give me a thumbs up because it helps me out a lot, and subscribe to the channel for more interviews like this one, the podcast, and deep dive movie reviews. I've got some coming up. Also, this week's Spirits and Screams on Saturday night at 7 p.m. Pacific time, we're having the lovely Rainbow Fright, DeRay. She's going to come on and we're all going to chat about movie theaters and streaming and just movies in general. It's going to be a super fun time, so be sure to stop by and check that out too. Thanks guys again for watching. I love all of you and I really enjoy all the comments that you guys are dropping lately. It's so much fun chatting with you. I appreciate that. So until next time guys, have a good one.